All right, welcome to the Explainer. Something big is happening in the crypto world right now. The giants, they're bleeding cash. But that money isn't just vanishing into thin air. Nope, it's on the move. So today, we're going to follow the money trail. We're going to find out exactly where hundreds of millions of dollars are flowing and, more importantly, what it tells us about where the market is headed. Okay, so let's dive right in. We are seeing a massive outflow of cash from funds tied to the two biggest names in crypto. I mean, huge amounts. Which brings us to the big question on everyone's mind. Where is all that money going? And to figure out where the money's headed, well, you first have to look at where it's coming from. And for that, we've got to turn our eyes to the old guard, right? The established giants, Bitcoin and Ether. Lately, they've seen a pretty steady stream of investors deciding to cash out. Get this, on one single Friday not that long ago, those investment funds that hold actual Bitcoin, the spot ETFs, they saw a staggering outflow. We're talking nearly $200 million. And this wasn't just some random one-off event, a little blip on the radar. No, this was the grand finale of a full week of investors taking their profits off the table. And Bitcoin wasn't alone in feeling the heat, not at all. On that exact same day, Ether funds also bled cash, losing close to $100 million. So, if you do the math, that's a combined total of almost $300 million heading for the exits from the top two crypto assets, all in just 24 hours. Wow. So, you've got hundreds of millions of dollars on the move. But like we said, that capital doesn't just disappear. It's what we call rotating. And that brings us to the other side of this story, the really interesting part, the new destination for all that investment. And that destination? Well, it looks a lot like Solana. On the very same day that the big guys were losing all that cash, Solana funds were doing the exact opposite. They pulled in over $44 million. And check this out. This wasn't just a lucky day. It was actually the fourth straight day of positive inflows. That tells you there's a real, consistent, and growing confidence from investors. And this chart, man, it just tells the whole story in one shot, doesn't it? On one side, you've got this massive river of cash flowing out of Bitcoin and Ether. And on the other, you have this clear positive stream channeling capital directly into Solana. It's a super stark visual of a pretty dramatic reversal of fortunes. So there's actually a name for this phenomenon. It's called capital rotation. And here's a great way to think about it. Imagine you're a really savvy coach. You've got players who've been on the field for a while, they've had a great run, scored a bunch. You rotate them out to rest them, and you send in some fresh legs. Players you think have the potential to be the next big scorer. That's exactly what investors are doing here with their money. Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question, or I guess the $44 million question, why Solana, right? What is it about this particular asset that's pulling in so much capital right now, just as the big leaders are taking a breather? Well, according to Vincent Liu over at Cronus Research, it really boils down to two key things. First up, investors are hungry for new narratives. They want a fresh story, a new reason to get excited about growth. And second, they're chasing yield opportunities, specifically something called staking, which is basically a way you can earn rewards just for helping to secure the network. And this comparison here just nails the two competing stories perfectly. On one hand, you have the big established players. The story there is all about, okay, we've had a good run, time to lock in those profits. But on the other hand, with Solana, the story is all about future potential, about what's coming next. It's like investors are putting down a book they've already finished and picking up a brand new one, where the first chapter is just getting really, really exciting. And a massive, massive part of that exciting news story is this number right here, around 7%. That's the estimated annual yield that new products like the Bitwise Solana ETF are offering through staking. I mean, think about it. That gives investors a way to earn a passive return on what they're holding. That is a powerful and frankly, very attractive incentive. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second, because this really isn't just a story about Solana versus Bitcoin and Ether. It's actually a sign of a much, much broader trend. The entire crypto investment landscape is diversifying. And the key takeaway here is that the market is, it's growing up, it's maturing. For years and years, if you were a mainstream investor, your choices were pretty limited. This whole rotation into Solana, it's even possible because there's finally a whole new menu of investment options hitting the scene. And that wave of new products is just getting bigger. We're seeing the Bitwise Solana ETF pop up in the US, but there are also new funds for other assets like Litecoin and Hedera. And it's going global too. with the first ever spot Solana ETF launching in Hong Kong. The bottom line is, the market is diversifying fast, and that gives investors way more avenues to explore. So all of this, it brings us to the most important question of all, right? We've seen the shift happen, we've dug into the why, but what does this actually mean for the future of the market? Now, analysts seem to think this momentum has legs, that it could continue. But it leaves us with this one huge, crucial question hanging in the air. Is this just a temporary thing, a short-term rotation? Or are we witnessing the dawn of a totally new era for crypto? An era where the throne isn't just held by one or two kings, but where capital flows freely between a whole court of contenders, and in doing so, reshapes the entire investment landscape permanently